want to come running in from the lobby thinking that they missed something. Hi, I'm Ed Stewart, movie star, also known as Bobcat Goldthwait, and me and my friends John Cusack and Demi Moore.
I hate boats. I'm not getting on any boat.
I beg to differ.
Just had one crazy summer.
Your dad said you were collecting shells.
Shells? 57 millimeter. We did all the normal things people do. Hey, little boy, will you hold on to this for me? Made friends. Sorry.
Oh, no.
Saw the sights.
Please, your enormous is anything but chilly.
Killed our own food. Dazzled women.
Are you ready for me, Hoops?
We were party animals. Help me. Everyone loved us.
My car.
And we loved every minute. By the end of the summer, I felt that grown a lot personally. I felt a little bit better about who I was and where I was going. Okay, let's move it out. Here we go. Wait. It really was one crazy summer.
Welcome back to a brand new episode of ReconCinemation. I'm your host, John Diner.
I'm David Munchak.
I'm Brent Hutchins.
And this is the podcast that takes a look back at some of our favorite films from the 70s, 80s, and 90s. And season 6 has begun. We're coming off a huge episode with Megaforce. And we're going right through our sizzling summer of sensational cinematic shenanigans with One Crazy Summer.
This is awesome.
Yeah, I mean, this has been a long time coming.
This is One Crazy Summer we're having.
It is.
And we're covering One Crazy Summer.
Self-titled.
Oh my gosh. It's a biography.
It's the only way to describe the lineup that we have over the next few episodes. So starting with Megaforce, now One Crazy Summer. But
holy cow.
Yeah. And this is very much a part 2 of 2. You know, you kind of can't talk about One Crazy Summer without talking about Better Off Dead, and vice versa. They pair so well together. But yeah, we did cover Better Off Dead, which you can check out in the archives at ReconCinemation.com back in, I think it was season 4. But yeah, here we are. So why did we end up with this movie? I feel like we've been talking about One Crazy Summer for a while.
This was probably on my original list. Like when we decided to do a podcast, I'm like, we got to make sure we do One Crazy Summer if we're going to hit the 80s, Cusack, and just a staple of cable TV, or not, excuse me, of like weekend TV movies, stuff like that. So I've been a champion since day one, I think.
Yeah, I buy that. I've also name dropped this one a couple times in conversations that we've had. So I think we were all on board for One Crazy Summer.
I think sometimes you guys just have to like pound it into my head that we're doing this movie. It's time.
Yeah.
Well, there's just so many to get to, you know. It's just it's not the movies we do aren't in a preference of rank, you know. It's what strikes us and what's we take the temperature of what's going on in the zeitgeist and in our lives, and it was time. It was time to have One Crazy Summer together. Yeah.
I mean, when we outlined season 6, Sizzling Summer of Sensational Cinematic Shenanigans, like One Crazy Summer was exactly the movie that came to mind to tie it all together.
Yeah. We have to have, it's summertime, you know, you've got to have the wacky summer, you know, 80s movies, because there's a whole bunch of them. I mean, what are some of the other ones that you guys love? Are you summer rental fans?
So, John Candy?
Yeah.
I'm a John Candy fan anytime of year. Don't even need to have a summer rental.
Yeah. Summer School with Mark Harmon.
Yeah.
And
yes.
Kirstie Alley.
Absolutely. Police Academies, like all, you know, I mean, all those movies.
What about
silly summer 80s movies are.
Yeah. I mean, they're a special thing. They're nostalgic. Like its own category. Whitewater Summer, the Kevin Bacon, Sean Astin classic.
Oh, right.
I love it. I wouldn't call that one silly, but yeah, I love that one.
Yeah.
It's cinematic.
Yeah. Was that
cinematic?
Was that like weirdly dark. I remember that being a little,
Well,
having
it
a little
was.
bit of a dark
Right.
tone.
Yeah,
right?
there was a power struggle with you know, the camp leader, and then he ended up breaking his leg, and Sean Astin had to save his ass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel
It
like there
was
was some
thriller.
bullying going on in that movie. I'm adding it to the maybe not this summer, but next summer's lineup.
We should.
Ski patrol or ski school, which is the one that isn't total porn. What's
Aren't all the ski whatever
it's Ski Patrol.
ski
the one with
resort?
George Lopez in it?
I think that's Ski Patrol.
The ski patrol is probably
Yeah.
ski patrol.
And-
That's not a
and-
summer movie, but it's kind of in the same.
Well, I think it came out in the summer though. Feels
I mean,
like a summer movie.
you could
Yeah,
go
probably
skiing in the
did.
summer in all types of places. So
Yeah.
have some fun.
Which is the one with Peter Berg in it?
That's the same one, right?
No, that's Aspen Extreme.
Oh,
Aspen Extreme. Okay.
Yeah.
See,
With-
can't,
We
can't keep them
segued.
all straight. There's so many freaking ski movies.
We segued from summer movies to ski movies somehow. So,
I mean, Better Off Dead has ski scenes in it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, what are you gonna do?
yeah. But that's a
Uh,
Christmas movie, as we talked about last time.
Yes,
So
it is
well established.
yeah.
Well
debate.
established.
There is a
Yeah,
hint of
season 4.
Christmas in this as well, even though it definitely is a summer movie. There's a Christmas tree.
There,
There is a Christmas tree.
Yeah.
there is this Christmas tree and a well placed one liner about responsibility.
Yeah.
Is it just me, or can I justify any movie being a Christmas movie? I can find a route.
Well, I mean, if you lay a Christmas tree across the top of a vehicle, that's the layup right there. That's easy pickings.
Yeah. Even though they're telling us it's, June essentially, but it's okay
Yeah.
with me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So why don't we let's set the table. Let's rewind. Let's go back in time. Brent, walk us through what are some things going on in the world in August 1986?
August 1986. Stuff is happening. Stuff is happening in 86. Stuff that we all have heard about. I'm not focusing on August so much, but in April of 86, the Chernobyl disaster happened in Russia, which or Ukraine, sorry, don't get that confused, but everybody's aware of that. Yeah, and HBO made a nice series about it just so everybody got caught up, but
Very uplifting show.
not uplifting at all, but really, really well made.
Yeah.
So that was happening. The Iran-Contra affair was happening that summer. The Voyager 2 satellite flew by Uranus, closest Uranus flyby ever recorded in history up at that time. Nothing wrong with a good flyby Uranus. So that was happening. And then Halley's Comet was a big deal in 86. Everybody was looking up to the skies to find Halley's Comet and get
That was a big deal. I remember that.
Get in that selfie from Voyager 2's Uranus flyby. And then the Statue of Liberty Centennial Celebration happened that summer. And that was when they reopened the Statue of Liberty after doing some pretty extensive kind of upgrades and refurbishments.
We had that on videotape, and it was probably the most boring video that I ever saw.
It's the statue that you've watched on video. Apparently there were a lot of really great fireworks, but
fireworks, a lot of great helicopter shots circling around it, but how many times can you see it on video?
Did they use footage from that in Flight of the Navigator? I feel like they may have.
I don't remember if they did that, but they did shoot parts of Remo Williams' The Adventure Begins during the reconstruction and whatever work was going on.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah. So big sequence.
Yes.
We'll circle back to that one.
We will circle back to that one. That one's also on the short list of movies that we need to reconcinemize.
Yeah.
Let's see what else is happening in 86. Lots of great movies from 86. Top Gun was in 86. Crocodile Dundee, Platoon, Karate Kid Part 2, Aliens, Ferris Bueller's Day Off, Stand By Me, Labyrinth. I mean, there's just a shit ton of movies that came out that year. That's just the tip of the iceberg. Big Trouble in Little China, we talk about. You can check that out in the archives. And we had one drop actually not too long ago, a couple months ago. The Wraith was 86 as well. So lots of great movies. Can't say the same about the music scene, but Dionne Warwick had the #1 song of the year with That's What Friends Are For. Dionne and Friends putting
that was
out.
actually going to be our theme song. We were in deep negotiations with her team.
There was actually people were throwing coffee at each other. It was heated. It was a heated conversation. But yeah, so that was top song of the year. And then top TV shows, 86, good stuff. Family Ties, Cheers, Golden Girls, Growing Pains. John's favorite, Dallas.
Yeah.
And then
the dream season. The dream season was that year.
Oh, I mean, that whole year was a dream. Yeah. And then #1 show on TV, though, is the show that we shall not mention. But
the C word?
Hey, kids. Hey. Yeah. Just have some JELLO.
Yeah. Ugh.
We can say his name. It was a really great show. I don't know. I know.
I know. I mean, but he is a modern day Voldemort.
Oh, he's a monster. Piece of shit. But
it's crazy when you look at like the ratings for not just that show, but a lot of the big shows of the late 80s. It was like, man, everybody stopped what they were doing and were watching those shows.
I mean, you're talking back in the day when it was like the big three and Fox was just coming on the scene, and like that's what everybody had to choose from to watch from TV. So it was like everybody watched whatever was in prime time, and some of those shows were great. I mean, Cheers is, I remember watching Cheers honestly from like being a little kid through high school and just the reruns. I mean, so that's a good one for sure. But
and there's a Fox show that ties directly into our subject here tonight. Little trivia. We'll come back to it.
Can't wait for us to crack.
Primetime show?
Yes, primetime. Early days of Fox that ties directly to this movie.
Ooh,
all right.
I'm intrigued. Can't wait to get to that. That's news to me.
Yeah.
And that's 86. Lots of stuff going on.
All right.
Wow. That's exciting. What an exciting time. Yeah, they used to cancel shows that weren't getting a 12 share. Or like
right.
Or we're getting a 12 share. It was a battle for tens of millions of viewers back then. At any given moment. Great.
Now if you have a 0.75, you're good to go.
Yeah.
You'll probably be renewed on the CW.
I mean, it's just so different nowadays than it was then, as far as like TV programming and networking, and I mean all the streamers, dude. Like it's
too
just
many
a
options.
completely different ball game.
Too many options, too much to do, and you know what? All the stores are open later and later. No one's sitting down to watch TV at 8:00.
And
they're not open where I am.
Oh. Never mind.
Yeah.
What did we do? What did we do in the summertime when there were no new shows and it was repeats? We had what? We had like Family Double Dare on the air at night, and
no, you went outside and you were told not to come home until the sun set.
Yeah.
I was on my bike until 10:00 at night.
Your Huffy bike?
I don't think did I have a Huffy? I might have had a Huffy. No, my friend had a Huffy.
I had a Diamondback.
I don't remember.
I think isn't that what the Diamondback BMX bike? I had one of those for a second. I couldn't.
Real deal.
I loved the movie Rad. Couldn't even do a wheelie.
Yeah.
But I had a bike that I'd ride around and get into trouble with.
The Hal Needham classic, Rad.
That's right.
Yeah.
My favorite Hal Needham movie.
So yeah, all right. Well, David, why don't you give us a recap? What is happening in One Crazy Summer?
Well, One Crazy Summer, written and directed by Savage Steve Holland, who we talked about with Better Off Dead, right? And this one is sort of the spiritual sequel, follow up to that. It follows a disaffected and aimless teenager who is lost in love and lost in confidence, but he finds a path to both when he joins his best friend for the summer on the island of Nantucket for shenanigans with a bunch of preppy bullies, working class heroes, and weirdo relatives. That leads to great arcs for everyone involved. That's a very loose, very loose description, but it's but that, you know, that's what how fun does that sound?
That sounds like a great time. This sounds like the almost the perfect 80s movie, really.
Right?
That
sounds like a lot of 80s movies.
Yeah.
It's one of them.
When was the first time you guys saw this one? Brent, let's start with you.
I don't know what year it was, but it was early on. It was when it was airing on HBO. This is definitely one of the kind of spending the night over at Travis's house movies that I saw at HBO late night. I saw this before I ever saw Better Off Dead, and I loved this movie when it first came out. I mean, I still love this movie, but yeah, this one I just thought was a lot of fun. It was kind of bananas, but you know, I felt like John Cusack's character was kind of relatable, and you know, as kind of the down in the dumps kid who wasn't quite rising up to his full potential, and you know, then kind of succeeds in the end with you know, his miraculous the sail shot, I guess. I don't know sailing rigging terms, so I'm not gonna to be able to do that. But yeah, it was awesome. And then I guess through the years, I watched this pretty regularly, but I think once I finally got introduced to Better Off Dead, I think as I got older, Better Off Dead has probably taken the mantle of my favorite between the two of these, but I think they're both pretty fantastic.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, man. Like this one was paired. They were paired so close together for me to see. I watched them both on, it would be Saturday afternoon movies or something like that. It's the first time I'd seen both of these movies, and I can't quite tell which one I saw first, but I feel like maybe it was this one, and maybe because I had a leaning toward this one like a lot more as far as preference, but like, you know, and I think as for a kid, like it's not as dark as Better Off Dead. It's got a little more zaniness. Like Bobcat Goldthwait, of course, is like a huge draw and a comedic, like,
yeah,
like, you know, he's just funny. Like when rewatching this movie, I was just dying at some of his bits, and of course the Godzilla part, and you know, and so for a kid, I was obviously like rolling over, just dying laughing back then. So it's not like I thought it was a better movie. I just think I had a lot more fun with this, and so it was definitely part of it. But I mean, as far back as I can remember, this movie always existed. You know, like the two of these. Oh man, WPIX, Channel 11 in New York.
Oh yeah, you said the magic words, my friend.
Oh baby. It was that's the New York's home for movies.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I feel left out. We didn't have WPIX in Houston, so you guys talk about it so fondly. I'm just always jealous.
PIX and WWOR and little WGN. Oh man, we had some great afternoon movies.
Absolutely.
I think,
Johnny?
I feel like with Better Off Dead and One Crazy Summer, in talking to many people about these films, it feels like whichever one you saw first is the one that you kind of lean towards.
Yeah.
So for me, I didn't see this movie until right when I moved out to LA in 2002. So I completely missed. I mean, I remember the posters. I remember knowing of it, but just missed it completely. And Better Off Dead, I saw in the summer of '98 when I was in the middle of a kind of tumultuous time in a relationship, and I very much connected with that movie. So that one is near and dear to my heart. But so when I saw One Crazy Summer, I don't know, like I didn't love it, and I think it was me, like it was just me. It was the mood I was in when I watched it. I did the big scary move to LA and restarting your life, and was kind of nervous about where everything was headed, and I think I was not in that summer fun movie mode when I happened to put it on. But I've rewatched it since and enjoyed it a lot more, like watching it this time. And I think I watched it maybe about a year ago or 2 years ago and had a lot of fun with it. I mean, I love those older John Cusack films. I think we'll talk a lot about Savage Steve Holland in a minute, but there's so like the generic high school, like
Generic. I
But
forgot
it's
the name of
actually
it.
called
Brilliant.
generic high school
yeah,
and
like,
generic elementary.
Yeah. That's so perfect, and they don't
Yeah.
treat it like anything weird. Like it's just
No.
the name of the-
That's the name of the school.
I mean, like the principal says it in the graduation speech, and you see the signage on the school. Like, it's just fantastic. Like those are just such quirky little like side jokes that are so funny, and that sense of humor is so, I don't know, it just works so well. I feel like it's a shame that both movies were as overlooked as they were.
Yeah,
There's so
it
many
is.
good gags and just subtle comedy that works, and but then it allows for just really goofy stuff to happen, and the goofy stuff fits. Like
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's
like
so
this-
much to like in this movie. I mean, John Cusack in, getting into the like prime of his career, really the beginning, but Demi Moore, great in it. Like you said, Bobcat Goldthwait, right
Oh,
on
he's
the
genius.
rise.
Yeah.
and he's hot as hell. Like
Yeah.
as far as being like the it guy in
Yeah.
comedy, right there.
And like he was I remember when he got big, I feel like he was on Howard Stern, and my dad used to listen to Howard Stern every morning. So he heard that a lot. And Bobcat Goldthwait was just huge, and the whole character of Bobcat Goldthwait, because he's nothing like that in
Right.
everyday life. And now
But
when
in
you
all
see
the-
him,
But all the movies that he was in, it was that character, right?
That character, yeah.
Police Academy, One Crazy Summer,
Scrooged,
Scrooged.
Yeah.
It's always that like squeaky voiced, like kind of spazzy,
the crazy
animated,
hair, yeah.
crazy hair, over animated guy. But yeah, he's not like that at all.
Yeah, and he feels like such a dominant part of this movie watching it now. And there's more to it that's going on behind the scenes that again we'll get into, but I hadn't watched a Bobcat Goldthwait movie in a long time, and it was just good to see him and see that character again.
It made me want to watch Citizens on Patrol like again, because I
Yeah.
think that's his entrance into police.
Is
academy.
that I can't,
Because he's a citizen, right? He was just like all
Right.
these random people.
No, I
he's
think
the villain. He starts as like the villain.
He's in
Oh,
part,
that's right.
He's in
He
part
was-
2.
right. He's a gang member in part 2,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
And then he joins them.
and then he joins the force in part 3, and then
Oh,
part 3 or 4, I forget. But
No,
yeah,
I think it's 3, and then I think
I thought
he's in
he
it
gets-
through like 5,
it's
and then
it's part 3 is back to training where he gets trained, and then 4 is when he's on the force and Citizens
Brent,
on Patrol.
is there a
Ah.
particular reason you know so much about these
Yeah,
police
Jesus.
academy movies?
Well, I just rewatched 1 and 2
Okay.
like a week and a half ago per John's recommendation, because I was struggling to find something to ease my troubled mind. So
Sure.
he lobbed those up for me, and it was a great recommendation. But yeah, that's I need to watch 3 and 4 again, but that's the timeline that I remember and looking for.
Okay, got it. I have a vision of like
Oh, I had them all confused in my head.
Yeah,
I thought 4 was part 2. Like when I rewatched them just recently, I was like, oh wait, like this is not the right order that I had like built them in my head.
so when this is total aside. Like so when he joins the force, isn't that the same one where in the beginning it's what's his name the like the nerdy Bumberchuck or something like that was like he's like his like rival sort of, and then they're like friends or something like
Oh
that.
Yeah, he's in there. The guy who runs he like runs a pawn shop or like an antique shop.
Uh-huh.
That's the guy. He gets picked on in part 2, and then they end up joining. They both join the force. Yeah, they both end up joining the force.
I forgot. Just like I like Police Academy 1 and 2 are like are fine, but those are the ones I've watched the least. Like I watched sort of the middle ones a lot.
Yeah, they hit their stride with 3.
Yeah. The comedy is just like so streamlined, and the ensemble is so good.
Yeah.
I don't even really dislike 5. Was it Mission Miami Beach
Yeah,
it's pretty good. Even though we don't have a Mahoney.
Yeah, you're out of the Guten business, but
you
got
lose
Matt
a lot
McCoy.
without Gutenberg.
Yeah,
but still fine. But the rest of the ensemble, you can tell like it's not just a Guten movie. You got that ensemble that really works. Anyway, but yeah,
Sharon Stone in part 4. Come on,
we'll have to. Hey guys, we'll have to do a podcast on the Police Academy series.
Yeah,
we'll have to pick it up.
I think we do a separate podcast where we go through the Police Academy movies 1 minute at a time.
Police Academy minute.
Yep.
Well, let's outline it and see what we can come up with.
Yeah. But Bobcat Goldthwait, just great. And so I was really I had a really good time watching it this time. But yeah, I missed it. The whole 80s and 90s, this movie passed me by.
Well, it's interesting too. Like, I don't know what you guys think, but like, so both David and I think have said we saw One Crazy Summer first, and I think both of us kind of hold that one in higher regard than Better Off Dead. Although Better Off Dead has grown on me quite a bit since I've gotten older, but I feel like Better Off Dead in general is the one that like has more of like a larger kind of cult status, like following.
Mm-hmm.
Than One Crazy Summer, but I think they both have like audiences that love them, but Better Off Dead is probably the one that gets like more wide recognition. I would think, or I would say.
I think. I mean, there are differences. Like stylistically, they're very similar, but there are some differences between the two movies. And Better Off Dead is a little quirkier and stranger, I think. And One Crazy Summer is a little more polished. It feels more like I don't want to say a studio movie, but it feels like movie makers who know what they're doing are making this. And Better Off Dead was very much like almost like a student film. It feels like of how it came together.
Let's just keep putting weird shit in there.
Yeah.
Like the story and the Better Off Dead, I think the story is pretty solid. Like, not that the story is that bad in this one. It just, I think there's like a little more to like streamline and pay attention to, or, you know, this One Crazy Summer is a little more of an ensemble movie, a little bit. You got a little more B story and fun to have. Like that doesn't solely rely on Cusack the whole time. And Cusack is a little less weird in this one too. Like, because he's the
straight man. He's the straight man, really.
He's a straight man in both, but he's still like he's like, you know, he's suicidal and a little weirder and Better Off Dead. Like, so there's a lot more going on in that one. And I think it just hits better. It's weird because they're companion movies to each other, though. It's almost, you know, there's no wrong answer. Like, what do you like more? Or
right,
sure.
I think
there is a lot more, like you said, ensemble. There's more characters in this one that, you know, with that you're gonna have less time with each of them, and really in Better Off Dead you pretty much just have Cusack and a couple of, you know, secondary characters, whereas here you've got it's spread around quite a lot. And there's a lot of people and familiar faces and people we love in this movie.
Yeah, like because what in Better Off Dead, it's really just Curtis Armstrong is his friend.
Yeah, he's got one friend and Diane Franklin, and then, you know, Lane. Then you've got your villain, right? The captain of the ski squad.
Yeah,
and Amanda Wyss, and that's it. And then the parents.
Yeah, and then like the town is populated with a bunch of weirdos, but they only get a few moments, and then that's it. You know, other than like
Right.
the parents and stuff. But like this one is a little more. You get to spend time with the Stork brothers and with Bobcat and Curtis Armstrong, of course.
Yeah.
And he gets a whole little little arc. So it's fun, you know, like there's a lot more going on, and if it was more of a John Cusack movie, maybe it'd be a different story. But
Yeah.
like you said, it's a little more polished. It gives a little more, I don't know, a little more cohesiveness, I guess.
Yeah, and I think even just like the cinematography is more straightforward and feels like, you know, it just doesn't feel like it's like we're learning on the go.
Yeah, they feel like they took the lessons that they had from Better Off Dead and like implemented them here to make a kind of a more, I mean, a more complete kind of film.
Yeah.
In some ways.
Yeah. But let's talk about Savage Steve Holland, our writer director. This whole movie is born from his mind. He really came on the radar when he directed a short film called My 11-Year-Old Birthday Party, which was a autobiographical piece about his 11th birthday party where no one showed up, and it was like the saddest thing. He made a short film and it played in the LA Film Festival and it got some traction. It got in one of the like main shows. Henry Winkler, the amazing, incredible legend Henry Winkler,
yes,
saw it and took him out to lunch and like loved it and said, what else do you have? Like, what are you working on? So he said, well, I'm writing a script about how my girlfriend broke up with me and what happened after that, and that became Better Off Dead. So Winkler sets him up at Paramount. Now, Henry Winkler, remember in the 80s, was after Happy Days, like he had segued into being a big time, I think especially a TV producer. Like he produced MacGyver and, you know, a number of shows. So he got, I don't know if he got Savage Steve a deal at Paramount or just got him, you know, an office on the lot, and where he wrote Better Off Dead. And you know, and at the time, this is after Fast Times at Ridgemont High, you can check that out in the archives at ReconCinemation.com. Hollywood is really looking for quirky comedies at this point, right in the mid 80s. They've you know, we're really like that movie showed you can do, especially with Sean Penn's character Spicoli, like people are gravitating to these weird kooky characters,
kind of wacky.
Yeah. And you know, many of them are big hits, so this is the right time for Savage Steve to come on the radar where he gets Better Off Dead made pretty quickly. Also, you've got John Hughes really on the rise at this point. So all this is happening at the same time. These teen comedies are coming out one after another. And I think, you know, Savage Steve, when he met John Cusack, you know, the character, his lead characters tended to be more like a Woody Allen kind of, you know, quote unquote nerdy, kind of losery, kind of
neurotic.
Yeah. When he hooked up with John Cusack, who's really looking for his big break as an actor, it really kind of took it a little bit more, I guess, center and made it a little more relatable for a wider audience, that he's not such an extreme character. Like, he is still a loner and he is still quirky, but not so far off the map, you know.
Right.
So I think people, I think it felt like people were identifying with Cusack. And then, you know, Better Off Dead, which, you know, again, we did a whole episode on that, comes out, and it is, you know, it's not the hit that everyone was hoping for. It's kind of a big disaster at the box office, but fortunately, Savage Steve had already started writing. He had gotten commissioned to write his next movie before Better Off Dead was released. So One Crazy Summer, the wheels were already in motion, and this movie was going to be made no matter what. But there's still a pretty big fallout. You guys aware of the kind of friction that grew between Cusack and Savage Steve?
What was the cause of it? Like just because Better Off Dead didn't do as well, or
no,
what happened?
it was Cusack felt betrayed that was not the movie he read. That was not the movie that was in the script. That was not the movie he signed up for. That it was supposed to be. I mean, it was always going to be a comedy and a little quirky, but not as quirky as it turned out to be. Like he thought the suicide storyline was going to be much more dramatic and more of the central part of the story, which it really isn't. It starts out that way, but as the movie goes on, we get a bit away from that. So, he walked out of a screening of like the first screening of Better Off Dead, and verbally got into it with Savage Steve that he was not happy about it, and but he had already signed on to do One Crazy Summer. So they make this whole movie, and there is a lot of tension. I don't think they're speaking to each other, and I don't think they've spoken to each other since.
No kidding.
Cusack only recently even started talking about it at all. It was for years, it was just would not talk about Better Off Dead. And I think going along with that was One Crazy Summer.
I just don't understand, having not read the script of Better Off Dead, but you were there, you filmed these scenes.
You shot all these scenes.
The hamburger, the hamburger sequence, you filmed it.
I guess I just don't understand how you could feel that misled if you're an active participant in it the way that he was. It just seems
he must have not seen it
strange.
Necessarily as something that's going to make an audience be uproarious, because I'm sure it was the laughing audience was probably what triggered a lot of his part of his anger. I would think would come from that. They're laughing, not laughing at him, but this, he's doing these scenes. It's about his psychological issues, and he probably didn't see them as comedic or laugh out loud funny, maybe, and I could see that as sort of a confusing thing for him. So yeah, the animation and the claymation and the gags that surround his sort of mental issues and suicide, that he probably just didn't see as funny. It's not funny. It's an exploration kind of thing.
Yeah. And it's, I've worked with directors who, don't always share the full picture of the story with the actors. So the actors they're doing what the director's telling them sometimes without knowing how does this fall into the story, and what is the scene before this and what is the scene after it, and sometimes they don't know what they're playing against. It's just they're just being directed. So
right.
Hard to say without, none of us were there. So
yeah, we don't know
for sure.
It is unfortunate that over time, as we all know, so much love has been given to both of these movies that, that an olive branch hasn't been extended by one of them to, clearly maybe it didn't do well, but it did damn well on home video and HBO.
Yeah, I feel like both these movies what kind of, solidify Cusack as a Hollywood leading actor, right? This is part of the building blocks that kind of led him to things down the road, High Fidelity and Gross Point Blank, and
the Sure Thing he does between these movies. He does Say Anything pretty quickly afterwards. So
Say Anything's another one. I'd kind of put Say Anything with these two movies as the three that really gave him a solid foundation for what has been a hell of a successful career. I think more so lately, he some of the things that he's done haven't probably been as well received, but for a long time he was killing it.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and I think, it didn't seem like the fault landed on Cusack's shoulders. It was, most of the negativity was directed specifically at Savage Steve.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. I buy that.
Which is why I think One Crazy Summer is his last theatrical release.
Yeah.
But yeah, so but in the meantime, Savage Steve is writing this movie, and he's like, I'm going to write a movie set in Cape Cod because, well, I want to hang out in Cape Cod.
Why not?
Why not? Yeah. What other reason do you need?
Yeah. And that happens all the time. See White Lotus.
Yeah.
I want to be in Italy for a while, so I'm going to write a show that's set in Italy or Hawaii
It's
or
genius.
I think they're going to Australia next, but
Oh my God.
yeah.
Good shows if you haven't seen them.
Oh,
yeah.
I love the first season. I haven't gotten around to the second one.
Oh, very good. It's very
The
good.
second one's great. Yeah.
I wasn't in the mood of sort of the problems of really rich people's like problems. Like when it came out,
rich
Yeah.
white people. Yeah.
yeah, I'm just like I'll get to that. I'm not really in the mood. not that which shouldn't matter, but it is like I think I probably just finished the first season 3 months prior, so
Yeah,
I was like, I need a breather.
So
Anyway.
I think that the harsh relationship between Cusack and Savage Steve were I think that's part of why we don't spend as much time with Hoops, our lead character, as we do with everybody else. So I think having that ensemble cast kind of padded that. So they're like, there wasn't as much to do with him. There wasn't as much shooting time with just him. So I think it was always going to be an ensemble cast, but I think that was part of it.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, I also feel like that's kind of what makes. I mean, we already touched on it, but I think. I mean, I guess it doesn't matter because this was Savage Steve's last movie, but I kind of also feel like that's part of why I gravitated more towards this one. There was just more variety in the characters, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But
now let's talk about the story. Does the story make sense to you guys? Does it still work? I mean, the connections from A to B to C, does it still flow, or is it too kind of absurd?
No, I think it's I think it's pretty straightforward. I think it's very simple, and it's about that just sort of like, I don't know, transient sort of just doing whatever in the summer, and like, yeah, you you make new friends. There's a couple girls you're attracted to, and you're exploring those relationships, and then you got to deal with bullies and elitists, trying to mess with you. And then it does sort of shift to like when it becomes the boat movie, but that's the last 20 minutes. But other than that, like, you don't see the regatta being like the big thing, because they do a 3-minute at best montage of like, let's just take them out at the regatta. Boom, we have a boat. Boom. All right, now
that's my favorite part of the movie is the boat montage.
Well, the montage is great. It's just sort of out of left field, like, but the seeds are planted, right? He doesn't like boats. He doesn't like the water.
He can't shoot. He can't. He's named Hoops, but he can't
hoops.
actually shoot hoops.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's all there.
Yeah, like the specific elements are what they are, but like as a story, like it seems pretty like standard. Like it's all the right beats are there to make this like kind of a classic 80s summer romp. Right.
And in a lot of ways, it's a repeat of Better Off Dead. I mean, it's taking a lot of that formula and just reapplying it. Like, it's not about skiing anymore. It's about a boat race. You've still got the bully. You've got the conflict with the girls.
You've got cartoon interstitials.
Oh, yeah. The animated sequences, which were, I think there was a couple of the writer, animators from The Simpsons were involved with that, along with, I mean, Savage Steve was the lead, but
I mean, I love the animated scenes in this one.
Yeah, they look really good.
Yeah,
they're really
well. Yeah, that's definitely
the rhino character. Love it.
Yeah, that's definitely a big step forward from the level of the animated sequences in Better Off Dead.
Sure.
Yeah.
which were more of like almost like a claymation, right? In
Well,
Better
it's
Off
a
Dead? Oh no, there was
kind of a
animation
mix.
too.
Yeah, there's a mix.
Yeah.
I mean, the hamburger becomes a claymation
Right.
thing, but there was hand drawn animation as well.
Yeah. How about Demi Moore?
Hey,
Yeah, dude.
to me,
This is I think she'd already, I mean, she was a model as a very young teenager, but had done St. Elmo's Fire was already out, and I think she was auditioning for About Last Night at the same time that she's shooting One Crazy Summer. So definitely in that Brat Pack era, that started in probably 84 and goes through, all the way through the rest of the 80s. But does that make this One Crazy Summer a Brat Pack movie? Does it, just because she's in it? No?
No.
I don't think so.
I've seen arguments where like the Brat Pack goes beyond just the cast from St. Elmo's Fire and Breakfast Club, like that Cusack is a Brat Pack member and Charlie Sheen's a Brat Pack member. And
I mean, I've seen articles like that as well, but I mean, I feel like really there's a core Brat Pack that
yeah,
is quintessential, and then there's like branches and cousins and offspring and whatnot, but no, I wouldn't consider this a Brat Pack movie. The you just mentioned a movie About Last Night. Is that with John Cryer?
no, that's Pretty in Pink.
No,
But About Last Night is Rob Lowe and Demi Moore. It's about a relationship drama. Also stars Jim Belushi and Elizabeth Perkins.
Got it. This is definitely the first movie that I remember Demi Moore from, because I didn't see St. Elmo's Fire until much later, like in high school.
Yeah, I don't even remember the first Demi Moore movie. It was probably Ghost or something, which I never actually saw, but it was such a huge movie that she was everywhere at that.
And that was like 4 years after this.
That was 1990. Yeah.
Well, and I think that's the one that like really made her a star, right?
But, that pushed her out of the ensemble cast and definitely to
out of the Brat Pack and into
and
the
then
spotlight.
You get Indecent Proposal like right on the heels of that.
Oh, right,
that movie's still hilarious. What the hell is going on in that movie?
But this movie is, I don't know, it's just so much fun that like you get he meets these, so Hoops hooks up with Joel Murray, brother of Bill Murray, and who I just did a Mad Men rewatch, and I completely forgot that Joel Murray's in like at least half the show. Yeah. And he's so good.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Yeah, so they leave a generic New York small town to go up to Nantucket, right? Where I think Joel Murray is the one who's got a family home up there, right?
His grandmother is Gam Gams, or I forget what he calls her, but she lives up there, and they're gonna go visit her for the summer with his sister. Yeah,
who's again kind of a repeat of Lane's younger brother character in Better Off Dead, but she was adorable, and like just her dog that she's got.
Oh yeah,
she plays the young evil genius character quite well.
She only has 2 lines in the whole movie, and it's just saying the dog's name. Just like the younger brother.
Two lines, but very standout acting and action as far as slapping the girls on the back and freezing their face.
Yeah, she got some great gags.
She has magical powers. So they head up to Nantucket, and they at a gas station, right? Is where they meet up with Demi Moore, who's on a rock star, not star, but a she's in a band that she's on the run from. Who's she running away from?
I don't know. The guy who would be Bobcat Goldthwait's character in Police Academy 2, but is not.
It's John Cusack, who was in the Goonies, a former football player who played Sloth in the Goonies.
Wow. Get out of here.
Yeah.
Oh, I got to go back and watch that now.
With a crazy pink wig.
Yeah, that pink wig is hilarious.
So punk, man.
Yeah. So she ran off from the rest of her band with like all their money. I lost the thread of what that side story was. but
Well, apparently it was her money, but he thought it was his money, and she
Right.
ran off with it. And then apparently she didn't need it because John Cusack just throws it on the ground and saves her.
Yeah.
And she's not upset about it at all. She's just like, let's go to Nantucket.
Yeah, and she's just suddenly, so they're hiding in the bath, or she's hiding in the bathroom, the men's room, where Matusak comes in and confronts her, and Cusack takes the money and like runs out, and they chase him, and he's just tossing all that money away.
Yeah.
And somehow in the chaos, she ends up in the back seat.
Yes.
Yeah.
Quite magically. She just is in the back seat.
So that's how our characters meet.
That's Shenanigans, summer Shenanigans. That's
the
definition.
I think they've got a good chemistry together.
Yeah. I agree.
It would be. Have they done another movie? I felt like seeing them. Like I feel like I've seen the two of them together, but maybe they haven't done another film. But yeah. So they make it to Nantucket and meet Joel Murray's grandmother, played by Billy Bird. Is that her name?
Yeah.
Another legend who's been in thousands of movies.
Love her.
Very familiar face.
She's great. She charges the kids.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. Grandma's making dinner. She loves
has
doing
a
it.
bill at the end of dinner.
Bill. She's got reasonable rates to stay at the house.
Yeah.
Just delicious.
So awesome.
And then once they're up there, we meet all the rest of our characters. The Stork twins, right? Which is Bobcat Goldthwait, and what's the other actor's name?
That is
Tom Villard.
Yeah,
Yes,
Bobcat
Tom
Goldthwait
Villard.
and Tom Villard. Yep.
Yep.
Who is another kind of eccentric actor that I think he passed away a number of years ago. But
yeah, he passed away in '94.
yeah, that's more than a number of years ago.
That is a number and a number of years.
Yeah. And we talked a lot about Bobcat Goldthwait already, but just again, refreshing to see that actor and that character again. Curtis Armstrong, who we see that side storyline. So he was the real like wacky comic relief in Better Off Dead. Here he's not as, I don't think he's as over the top because he's competing against Bobcat Goldthwait.
Yeah. And his character's just different, right? Like his character feels like he's kind of an underdog character in this one a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, because his dad plays this sort of overbearing scout leader who, asks him to do all these terribly dangerous things, in an effort to make his dad happy, right? So it's a like completely different character. Now the things he has him do are wacky, the situations are wacky, but him as a character, he's definitely much more mellow.
Usually like military oriented activities, but
which is good because I feel like if his character was as wacky as it was in Better Off Dead, right? That like combined over the topness between him and Bobcat would have been probably too much. Like I think there's a fine line that they're kind of skirting here between wacky and just downright kind of obnoxious and annoying. And it's a bit of a dance. And I think if they doubled up on that, it would be too much.
Yeah.
Well, like, because again, this is like a circle. They become the circle of friends, so you can't have like two characters that are too similar, right? Everybody's got to sort of fill a role. So
right.
So yeah, Bobcat takes over the wackiness, and then you've got an earnest guy in Curtis trying to please his dad, who played by Joe Flaherty, comedic genius
of SCTV fame,
SCTV and countless movies.
Yep.
But when that character is so great because we meet him as a scout leader, but he like runs like an Army Navy like shop with like live ammo and automatic weapons, and treats the scouts like they are military people,
right?
Yeah,
like or military cadets, and then he puts the pressure on Curtis Armstrong to Ak is his name, to he's got to join the military, and we don't see the drama, we see the fallout, like,
right.
So he says something to prove to his dad, and and then maybe by the end we'll see it. I don't know.
And
Maybe.
that's the first of two father-son relationship storylines, because we have our villain,
Yes.
a welcome back to the show, Matt Mulhern, who we saw previously in Extreme Prejudice. Check it out in the archives.
Oh, right.
Yeah, except with bleach blonde hair, and the year
Yeah.
before Extreme Prejudice, and a few years before Major Dad. But
Is it just a year before?
yeah, it was. This is 86, and that was 87.
Wow. All right.
But he's our villain character, that he's coming after Hoops left and right, and but his girlfriend, played by the amazing, beautiful Kimberly Foster, who also starred on a show you mentioned earlier, Brent, and I know it's your favorite, Dallas.
It is my favorite.
I had a big time crush on Kimberly Foster when I was in the late 80s, very early 90s.
Yeah, man, she's dreamy in this.
Yeah. And then, I think stopped acting and kind of, I don't know what happened to her, but yeah. So Kimberly Foster is dating Matt Mulhern, or Teddy, right? And, but at the same time, she immediately goes after Hoops.
Yeah, there's just something about him, right? She had to go after him.
Yeah. And that's what, that was something interesting that, in Teen Wolf, right? Everything circles back to Teen Wolf. So, Michael J. Fox has to become the werewolf in order to win the attraction of the blonde girl, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Here, Hoops doesn't do. I don't think he does anything, and suddenly she's just all over him.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it just seems like it's just the script calls for this to happen. There's not even any proper motivation. It doesn't really matter before and after.
Yeah. And
There's
he's
not-
not
it's
into
just-
her. He does not want to date her at all.
No, it's like a red herring to get you off the Cusack Demi Moore. That's the relationship you want to see happen.
Mm-hmm.
But it's set up a little bit where the girl, she and her tribe of friends approach them on the beach, help us move our boat, and even if you weren't necessarily I want to date her, a bunch of pretty girls ask you to do stuff, you're yeah, come on guys, let's go help these girls, and and that's what you see Bobcat I don't want to do that sounds like work. You got anything heavier for me to carry? They just give him little one-liners and stuff.
Yeah.
So funny. And but then that's where she invites him out. I'll pick you up. I'll see. She takes the initiative. And he's just all right, great. He didn't even have to try for her affections. And then they got to go to the drive-in that night.
Yeah, where he is doing his best to stay away from her. He gets that giant bag of popcorn and puts it between them.
Yeah, which she finishes within it cuts to a little bit later in the movie, or a little bit of the movie they're watching, and she has finished the bag of popcorn. It's so silly.
But then so Demi it almost she's kind of disappears for a little while in this movie, but her storyline is she's trying to win back her family home, and she's going to do this concert to try to raise enough money where she can pay the mortgage off to the bank ahead of Teddy and Teddy's father, played by the great Mark Metcalf from Animal House fame and Seinfeld fame, before they also want it to redevelop into a new neighborhood. They want to build a whole estate of new houses, similar to Caddyshack. So
it's that whole thing of the rich people are going to come in and take over and make some money, and boot out all the ne'er-do-wells who are there.
yeah,
Right.
The classic 80s trope. Get rid of the capitalists. They're invading our territory. Gentrification, not in my neighborhood.
It's the Goonies.
So she's trying to get people to come to her concert, right? And I love the flyers that she's handing out, which is just a white piece of paper, and in the middle in very small print, like, is the concert information.
Yeah, just a date and
Yeah.
a time and her name.
And her
Like,
It's a very low budget.
yeah. So
No marketing
Hoops,
budget.
Hoops gets the gang together, and they, get real flyers, and everyone's handing them out, and they end up getting quite a crowd together for the big concert, which I think Demi actually did did sing
The vocals?
those songs. Yeah.
very well.
So they raise the money back, and she runs to the bank and turns it in to I think Donald Lee, right? Is that from one of our actors from Big Trouble in Little China?
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yep.
Another familiar face.
Mm-hmm.
And but unfortunately, I think Mark Metcalf's character has already gotten the house.
Yeah, he purchased the mortgage through the bank. So instead of the deadline, so the deadline has passed for her. She can't do anything.
Yeah, but all is not lost for our heroes, and they
Nope, not with the regatta coming up.
Exactly. Then we get to the boat sequence. So they're gonna fix up this. I forgot whose boat it was.
Wasn't it?
It was on the beach. It was just an abandoned boat.
Yeah. It's like,
that's right. Yeah, that they see earlier. Yeah.
right.
Yeah. So they fix up the boat. They're gonna enter it into this race with the idea that if they win, they're gonna trade the trophy, right, for the house.
Yeah.
Yes.
But they don't even they don't strike the deal beforehand. It's just like if we win, we'll figure
Yeah.
hopefully this will work out in our favor.
Because the son, Teddy, Matt Mulhern, they know he wants that win so bad. It's so important because he's got his own relationship issues with his dad that he's got to constantly, part of why he bullies is he's got to prove himself.
Right.
Yeah. Well, and his dad's a psychopath who likes to
Right.
shoot lobsters with crossbows and
Yeah.
boil them in water and listen to them with a stethoscope. And he is
So
freaking whack, dude.
Lot of-
That guy-
so super villain. So it's
Yeah.
just super villain move.
A lot of animal abuse in this movie. And then he kicks the dog later on. That was
Dog.
not cool.
Yeah, I'm sure they ate all the lobster on set, but yeah, it's, he's evil. He's an evil man.
And it's like,
Yeah.
but it doesn't even make sense. It's like if his grandson or if his son doesn't win the regatta, his father is going to take away all of their fortune.
Yeah,
And they've won the regatta 3 years in a row.
yeah.
So
It's their
very
most
clumsy.
prized honor.
Yeah. So it's just a really flimsy sort of motivation that
Yeah.
Yeah,
it doesn't
It's-
really have to make sense to anybody.
it's 80s comedy motivation.
Yeah.
And of course, what ends up happening, David, in the actual race?
Well, they lose the regatta race. The Teddy loses.
Correct. Yeah.
And
Our
so-
heroes win,
Our-
and
Our heroes win.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they got the trophy.
they get the trophy, and they make the deal, right?
They
Well,
try.
there's lots of sabotage involved in the race too,
Yeah.
with crossbows shooting sail
Lots of stuff.
lines,
happens.
and then Hoops has to make the shot into the whatever it is because I don't know sailing terminology. And then they reveal that they've stolen Teddy's Ferrari motor and they motorboat to the finish line, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean
the Stork twins stole it earlier.
Yeah.
Right.
When he brought it into the shop.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they kept the license plate.
they kept
So
the-
that everybody knew.
And I
It's
think
like
the whole
it's like the back half of the Ferrari is
Yeah.
like it's
Yeah.
like the engine.
is the engine for the boat.
Yeah. It's brilliant.
Yeah. So a little bit of cheating there, but
Yeah,
but yeah, and then we see William Hickey, another familiar face, who is Teddy's grandfather, who does the right thing and gives the house that they bought back to Demi Moore.
right. Because he has full ownership, I guess, of all of that, the Beckerstead fortune, even his sons and grandsons' money. He's like, screw it, you lost the race. You're not.
Yeah.
And you figure like the regatta win has to come with like money, right? Like there's got to be prize money involved, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
Not just some dumb trophy. But
Or
that's
not.
not talked about. But maybe that's what just rich elites with boats do. They just race for a single
Yeah, it's the prestige. It's
$25 trophy.
Yeah. They don't care about money. They've got money. They want to be the top dog.
Yeah. And Akak gets to prove himself, like his instincts take over, and he helps an injured sailor and wins back the affection of his father at the end. So everyone
wins.
It's I mean, really like a definitive 80s feel good ending, right?
Everybody gets their comeuppance, right?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
So
Joel Murray's character, George gets with Cookie. He's just like, yeah, what are we playing games for? And they just, well, they're together now. Like,
yeah.
That's it. The Stork twins are happy. They get to roast marshmallows and just run their business,
Yeah.
yeah.
And Hoops and Cassandra, end up together. She's got the house back, and they end up, the last shot is the two of them kissing on the docks, and there you have it.
It's beautiful. We forgot to mention Jeremy Pivens in this thing too, as
Did
one
we?
of Teddy's goons.
Did we?
I feel like we did.
It's a gross point blank pre-union.
It is.
Well, this is when he was. He and John Cusack go way back together and have a long.
Oh yeah, they were
history.
Chicago actors.
Yeah.
So
Jeremy Pivens, I think, family. His mother ran.
Oh yeah.
A theater company that I think is where Cusack came up through, and she's a big behind the scenes Chicago person, and and they were often appeared in each other's movies all the way through some point in the late 90s, and then I think there was another falling out somewhere in there.
Was Cusack in PCU?
I don't think so.
No.
I don't think so.
It's funny though, like this movie, like 86, Cusack's only 20 years old, playing a high school graduate. And then when we watched and like seeing Gross Point Blank for the first time back in the late 90s, I'm like, 10 years after high school, like that he's an old man, but he was only 31. And then like, so he's not that, it was 11 years after this. So it really is like this spiritual timeline wise, same like a spiritual sequel of that time. Like,
yeah,
so it's like, but I'm like, Cusack's an old man, but I was like a little kid when he was 16 and doing movies, and it's like nothing makes sense in my brain. Like,
right.
So I didn't buy him as like a 28-year-old assassin, but he was only 31, which is still like a lot younger than a lot of people would play like that age probably.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Right.
So I don't know. It's weird that the timeline kind of works out.
Yeah, it does. Oh, one other storyline that kind of rubbed me the wrong way was the guy in the house constantly calling in the radio show to win that.
He's waiting for the jingle to call. He only calls one.
Right. But we keep cutting back to him and seeing whatever he's doing. That is completely unrelated, right? I mean, does it connect at all to anything that's happening in the story?
Well, he finally wins.
Yeah, but why do we care? Like,
because man, he's been grinding it out.
I feel like we've got enough quirky characters and enough characters in general in this movie that was a little bit like watching it this time. Like, you don't need that at all. Like me as
but it's funny.
It is kind of funny. I kind of love it.
Yeah, it was all right.
I don't want to lose the quirky uncle who's.
But that's
like,
yeah. But that's also like, I don't know. That's what you did. There was always the summer radio giveaways. Like I kind of relate to the idea. Like,
yeah,
the radio is a huge thing. Like that you'd always listen to in the summer, and there'd be those like amazing concert tickets or a trip or money. Like. Maybe not $1 million.
Making fun of those people who like literally sat there to win those competitions. Sometimes I think it's great.
Yeah,
you lose that, you lose the movie.
Yeah.
Oh, do you?
Yeah. Well, cutting it out entirely, yes, wouldn't make a difference. But I don't think it detracts anyway because you don't spend a lot of time.
Yeah.
And of course it serves like for the very end gag of the movie where Ak stores all of his gear, which includes bazookas and weapons in the room because he's staying in the house. And
Yeah.
it's just silly for silliness sake, but I don't think it's out of place for what you did in the summer, like
Right.
sort of that anticipation of something in the summer, like
Yeah, I
being
guess
off school, and then like, geez, it's at the end of July, this movie's going to come out, or this concert's coming to town, or whatever. It's like it's an endless summer. It takes forever to get there when you're a kid. I don't know. So that's how I saw it.
Yeah. I guess he doesn't win, right? Like he accidentally pulls the plug of the phone out of the wall when he's winning, and then he goes ape shit. That's right.
Yeah. I love that he lived close enough that like within less than 30 seconds he could get a rocket.
Fire at Rich Little.
Rich Little.
Yeah.
Which, come on, you gotta love a Rich Little showing up.
Yeah.
A man of 1,000 voices.
We also got Taylor Negron and Rich Hall from Saturday Night Live for a moment in the movie. Taylor Negron, who was also in Better Off Dead, but in a million movies in the 80s and early 90s.
Yeah. Oh, we can't forget that Laura Waterbury. Did you mention her? She was the crossing guard. She was.
I did not.
Yeah.
What's his face's mom in the Better Off Dead?
Ricky's mom in Better Off Dead. Mom. Yeah.
So good to see her again.
Yeah.
So I love this movie and I love the animation sequences, but I will say that the animation, like that, for the first animation when the rhino goes aggro and shoots all the bunnies with a machine gun, I was like, that feels
that's
like
a little much.
Wrong,
really, really dark. These, I don't know that holds up.
That does not
in a lighthearted way anymore, which is sad.
Yeah.
Well, I honestly, I don't think you're gonna find an 80s comedy that doesn't have, that.
Oh yeah.
Like they're all gonna have something that doesn't age well.
Yeah. I mean, I think you have to. Yeah, like it's
hard like because other countries might find that funny just because it's a juxtaposition of like animated characters and fuzzy bunnies and getting shot to death.
Yeah,
is one thing. But in 2023 America, like it just doesn't work.
It's a little numb, unfortunately.
Like of other problematic things, maybe of like Cookie's not really a fleshed out character, and so Demi is the only female character that gets any kind of, and she doesn't even get enough. Like I did want to spend a little more time with her as we were going. Like I liked her. Like I'm like, oh, there's like a little more story there. That'd be a little more fun. But
yeah,
it's Cassandra as her character, right? So
yeah,
yep.
But any 80s movies, like you said, like there's going to be something that doesn't work today, and luckily there's not a lot of. Is the R word? Does that show up? I think that shows up once.
Maybe once. I feel like I may have heard it once.
I think Teddy's dad just says that.
Yeah,
or something. But doesn't we've moved on from such things.
Yeah.
Well, when you watch movies like this, you've got to kind of park some of that at the.
I mean, just you can't change it. It is what it is, and you acknowledge that it's there and it's not okay, and we know that now. So
and we move on.
Yeah, and things that we're doing now, and 20 years from now, they're going to be like, oh my god, I can't believe they said that, or they would call that person that.
Yeah, we're gonna have. I think our podcast too is like they're gonna have to censor a lot of words on our podcast.
Oh, don't even go back to season 1. Totally, language changed after that.
Exactly. I just want to watch the Godzilla sequence again.
Let's do it after.
Funny. Gosh darn it, that's so funny. I was cackling. I didn't expect.
That is hilarious.
Like it all works out in a certain way. Like just him like trying it on the trailer on the truck, and then you realize what time he's like, oh shit, like, and he curses and but he's in a giant costume, and who knew that would be that funny? I don't know. That's just it shouldn't be that funny.
It is though. It is like it is a standout scene for sure. Like it is so hilarious.
Like, and it, yeah, and then the cigar goes in, so now he's smoking, so he looks like Godzilla. He does. There's a whole Godzilla sequence with a Japanese man or an Asian man,
Yeah.
excuse me. I don't know Donald Lee's origin, but like, and it just, and he's enjoying it. It's just this silly shit that, I mean, that's like the ultimate. But there's so many of those, like with Joel Murray getting caught under in the sand like twice, the same thing, and it's just like,
Yeah.
people are, and a little homophobic thing of like the two paramedics don't want to give him CPR, like like twice, but it's this funny thing of like I don't know. So I like the recurring bits, or just like the kind of outrageousness that kept showing up, and that's probably why it's always something that'll like just sort of nudges to the top for me. But I love both of these Savage movies, and so glad for them.
Yeah,
Donald Lee is from Hong Kong, by the way.
Oh, okay.
Nice.
So, there we go.
Yeah, that Godzilla scene is like, it's kind of a perfect example of like lifting something that would have been great as an animated thing and then translating it to like a live action thing. It just feels very like wacky and cartoony, and like it's kind of slapsticky. Like it's got some Tom and Jerry kind of vibes to it, with like kind of just the wackiness of it all, and it's great.
And it really only works with Bobcat's, just his voice and his inflection and his screaming, and like I think that elevates it. It'd be amusing, but Bobcat being like Bobcat somehow, it just turned into something else. It's so good. Anyway, so just like there's so many different things to like about the movie, I think, throughout. But I think we're all coming out of this saying, I'd watch this again.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh,
I will definitely watch this again.
I'll always watch this.
It's going to be regular summer viewing now.
Absolutely.
Good.
Which I didn't get to say in the last episode, or no, in one of our previous episodes, Megaforce. I don't probably need to see that again.
What are you talking about?
like we said at the end of that, I think I would watch it with a big group in like a communal celebration setting, but like I would never watch that again by myself.
Yeah. Agreed. I would watch that with a party. That would be fun.
Yeah, for sure.
But this is good regular yearly viewing.
This is with one friend, no friends, 10 friends. You could watch it with. I mean, it's a choose your own adventure.
Yeah. Well, let's see how it did at the box office. Let's do a little box office glory.
Oh yeah.
One Crazy Summer opens August 8th, 1986 at number 4.
Oh.
It opens up against a Fine Mess, which I don't remember that off the top of my head.
I've never even heard of that.
And Transformers the movie. That one we've definitely heard of.
Yep.
Oh, I've heard of that.
It lands right between Friday the 13th Part 6, which we've covered. You can check it out in the archives at ReconCinemation.com in week number 2, and Top Gun. Also check it out in the archives at week number 13.
This whole list is basically in the archives.
Yeah. Aliens was the number 1 movie that week in its 4th week, and Karate Kid 2 in week number 8 was number 2. So
wow. Look at all the movie choices you had that weekend.
I know.
Yeah.
There's a lot.
That's amazing.
It's a good summer.
The budget was $9 million. Opening weekend, it raked in $3.4 million for a grand total domestic run of 13.4. So
modest.
It made money.
It does
not
a little. It's not a hit. It does a little better than Better Off Dead, but it was not enough to really get Savage Steve, unfortunately, out of the studio doghouse. They actually, when Better Off Dead came out and was such a disaster, they immediately pulled. They really abandoned this movie. They pulled all the marketing. So it did 13.4 million with very little marketing, very little momentum. So it's kind of a miracle it even did that.
You probably think Bobcat for that. I think there was like,
Yeah, but I mean,
right?
that's
Cusack and
not
Bobcat.
that's not really a failure. I mean, they made almost $4.5 million on this
Well,
thing.
probably less with. I mean, they spent some kind of money on marketing, so they probably made $2 million on it.
Yeah, but I mean, it's not $20 million, but it's
Yeah, but I mean,
still a win.
at the time of the way teen comedies were, that was not what they were hoping for. So
Sure, of course. They
um,
wanted, $80 million, $100 million, but
yeah,
they kind of shot themselves in the foot and still made money. If I was on that executive team, I'd be pretty happy with that.
Well, you can advise them on the next one. Let them know.
Savage Steve, if you're listening to this, let's get together, buddy.
Savage Steve, love that guy. Big
It's
fan
time.
of Eek the Cat. I mentioned in the last show with
Yeah.
a lot of the design. His design is that all that animation. That's part of his design. When Bill Kopp, who I think was one of the lead animators, who did the voice of Eek,
Yeah.
was the lead animator of the sequences on this one, and love that show. Anyway,
yeah, it ends up number 59 of 1986 between Sweet Liberty and Extremities, with the top movies being Top Gun, Crocodile Dundee, and Platoon. But yeah, this is the end of his theatrical career. He kind of shunned by the studios, moves into the TV realm, and directs the pilot and a number of episodes for the one season run of The Adventures of Beans Baxter on the very first year of Fox's broadcast history.
So that's the
connection.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and I think which we mentioned in our Werewolf episode, another Fox short-lived series from the early days. But
Fox was great at short-lived series back in the day. That was their claim to fame.
Yep. Then they found a rhythm. They found a rhythm after a bit.
They got there.
Yeah. And then eventually he moves, Eek the Cat, and moves into, Nickelodeon, I think Disney Channel shows, and a very, very successful career there. So, you can't say he hasn't. Maybe he did not have a successful theatrical run, but Savage Steve Holland had a huge career as a TV director. So, it's interesting because I think, when you read interviews with him, he's really down on himself. Like, he really gives himself quite a hard time. He gives everybody else credit for the good things that he's been a part of. And
is that really a surprise, though? I mean, because both in Better Off Dead and in One Crazy Summer, the John Cusack character is kind of autobiographical.
Yeah.
And that character is down on himself, like, all the time.
Yeah.
So, like, I think that's just his, that's his thing. Like,
That's
he's
default.
Yeah.
But I think he deserves a lot of credit. Like, these movies, and I think he knows that they have a big cult following now and are very popular. And but I don't think he's ever felt that success.
Yeah.
But it is like we mentioned, it's HBO that these movies were on, like, kind of an endless run on HBO, and then home video. These were constantly out on the rental shelves. Like, there was I remember, like, never a copy available. When I started working at Suncoast, Better Off Dead was at that point was out of print, and it was like $99 for a copy of it.
Wow. See?
So, and One Crazy Summer, I think that was still in print, but but very much in demand, like constantly selling it. And so a long success on just a different level. It wasn't theatrical, but I mean, how much money did the studios, that's the information that's a lot harder to find, is, when you factor in all the home video rentals and sales, then how much money did this movie make? Because you're definitely talking a success there for sure.
Yeah. Well, like home video was now really becoming a bigger thing, like year after year in this time of the 80s, right? Like,
yeah.
So after a decade of that, I mean, there's certainly there's definitely been a return on their investment for
for
this.
sure.
So yeah, and to be able to run on HBO and cable, like I mean, that or on affiliates and cable and stuff like that, can't deny there's definitely like that's supplementing a lot of revenue for them. So
Yeah.
We have to step it back just a little bit because Savage Steve Austin did do one other movie in '89 called How I Got Into College, which was actually theatrically released.
Oh yes,
I remember. I remember when it was released. I didn't see that one, but now I'm curious to go and watch it, knowing that it's a Savage Steve movie. But everything else from then mostly is all like TV series, like director of either TV movies or TV series.
Mm-hmm. How do you think modern audiences are going to react to One Crazy Summer? You think they're going to take to it, to its quirkiness, or is it something that's kind of stuck in the time period it was made?
I think a small contingency of people of modern audiences would probably appreciate this movie, but I think I don't think if you showed it to 10 people, I think one person would probably enjoy it. Everybody else would not be able to relate to it. I don't know, that's my take. Like people just today, there's just too much else going on.
It's whatever you're sort of already have an affinity for. So if you're, it's like, can you tolerate the 80s aesthetic? Can you tolerate the goofiness of Bobcat Goldthwait? Can you just the story, the simplicity of the story itself, all of that, people may not be on board just from the first 10 minutes of the movie. So
right.
So yeah, I think you already have to have sort of an affinity for such things. And I don't know, I don't like watching a lot of movies before the 80s. I don't know. And it's unfair. But there's also subject matter that I don't like, or types of characters I don't like watching movies about. Just I don't care. And just we all have our preferences. So, but I don't think there's a universal. You're never going to get a universal acclaim for this one.
Yeah, these 80s comedies they're just not for everybody now. So it's just it's too wacky. It's too there's not a lot of logical threads happening. So I think people would. I agree with you guys, but
yeah.
I'm still going to make my kids watch it. So
I would think that they would like this. Your kids are funny.
Yeah, your kids have great taste. So I think
they love Better Off Dead. They really enjoy that.
Well,
yeah,
then they're fine.
You've got to show them this.
They've never met Bobcat Goldthwait, so I think that's gonna.
Oh
no, I take that back. They've seen Scrooged, so yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh.
Yeah.
You haven't shown them the porno police academies that
no.
That's very sexy movies.
Yeah.
There's a lot, actually, guys, there's a lot less nudity in those movies than I remember from being a kid. At least the first one. There's the
shower scene in the first one. Yeah.
Right.
But that's really it. I think maybe the later ones had more. I haven't watched.
No, they just refer to Leslie Easterbrook's cleavage many times.
They do that in part one a ton too. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I guess I see them as more they were more raunchy than they are.
Yeah,
but they're as you're just saying, they're not as raunchy as I remember it.
Yeah, I remember them being Porky's level. Whereas
Porky's,
and I'm they're not anywhere like that at all, actually.
There is, guys, to come back to One Crazy Summer, there is a sequel in very early development that Savage Steve is doing called One Epic Fall.
Oh, I hope it happens. How long's he been working on that?
He could bring everyone back. I'd watch it. Man.
Well, I mean, at the moment, he does not. I don't think he's even writing in Cusack and Demi Moore, because I don't think there's any way they would come back. But he's basing it around the Joel Murray and Bobcat Goldthwait and Curtis Armstrong. They're the lead characters. So
I'd watch that trio.
Yeah,
me too.
So we'll have to see if that ever actually gets made or how that progresses. But
I wouldn't count Cusack out. That guy needs work.
Hey,
He works a lot. It's just a lot of movies people are not seeing.
Yeah,
so.
he needs to do something people want to watch. That's what I mean.
I
Sorry. I
gotta
don't
give
mean
him,
to hate on Cusack, but
I gotta give Cusack credit for doing Hot Tub Time Machine like
Yeah.
10 years ago.
dude,
Yeah.
yeah, but that was
Like-
more than 10. That had to be more than 10 years ago.
I think it was it's
I think 2010 or something.
20. Okay, so well, but even then, like you would think he would have just stayed away from anything that's like sort of self-referential, like that. His
Yeah.
character, the storyline, the
Yeah.
sort
Yeah.
of the
He was a little
goofiness.
bit poking fun at himself and some of the movies he's made, but
So yeah, I don't know. I
But
don't know why he couldn't do a little more of that.
I mean, but Hot Tub Time Machine 1 and 2 are the best things he's done. And
he's not into, I don't think.
Yeah, they
Is he
replaced him
not
with Adam
into-
Scott.
oh,
Yeah.
okay. So Hot Tub Time Machine is the best thing he's done in like 23 years.
No,
guys.
he's done some stuff that's gotten some awards attention, very here and there. Love and Mercy was really good.
I'm looking at it right now.
He doesn't. I don't think he's a guy that wants to be. He doesn't. Other than like what The Day After Tomorrow or whatever,
Yeah.
and 2012 or. I don't think he wants to be in blockbusters and big movies and stuff. But he'll take a paycheck. He's in Con Air. He's great in Con Air. Like,
Well, I mean, he's in shit like Drive Hard though. Like that's like
He's in
an
a lot of lower
Like he-
budget movies that would now be straight to video.
Yeah,
but
but-
he did. I will say he played Brian Wilson in the biopic Love and Mercy, and he was really fantastic in it, and it was a really good movie. But
Okay, that was 2014, so that's 19 years ago. So
19.
again,
what
19?
year do you think it is?
oh yeah, yeah. Don't you
I
like
don't-
my math? It's like 20. It's like 30 years ago.
the fact that he's not even 60 still blows my mind. Like,
9
yeah.
years ago, but it's like still he's not 60. That's pretty incredible. He's been
Okay.
around. How's he been around for 70 years and he's not even 60? I don't
I know.
understand.
Chris
It's
math.
crazy.
I don't
It's acting
understand
like
it.
it's the 50s.
Oh my god! All right, guys.
Seriously, dude.
I think he
This
just
guy-
does whatever he wants, man.
Yeah.
He needs to want to do One Crazy Fall or whatever it is.
I think he's due for something that fans are really gonna love. Whether that's like another Grosse Point Blank movie, or or repairing this relationship with Savage Steve and coming together and doing a follow up there. I think he's due, but we'll have to see.
What if we did Escape from Australia? Carpenter comes back and it's John Cusack is the lead. Somehow we mix all these things. Would you see that? Come on.
Yeah,
Oh,
of course.
I'm just saying, like, let's do this, man.
Brent
Like,
has a vendetta against
I'm pissed
his
off that he was
rival
mad
of-
at Savage Steve.
Did he steal
About-
your girlfriend? Or
his
something?
No,
rival
no,
of
I'm-
64 years, John Cusack.
I know. I'm upset that he got mad at Savage Steve for whatever.
He was a young man. He was a young man in his 20s.
But
We
he
all-
hasn't even talked to him, dude. Like that's what John said. John,
Yeah.
you made this happen with your maybe legitimate research. I don't know.
If you were mad at someone, like screaming mad at someone when you were 20 years old, would you bother to check in on them now? Like, do you care? Like, you probably don't. You're probably not mad anymore. But
Hey, maybe say Savage Steve, thanks, man. Thanks for giving me the opportunity.
that might have happened. We don't know.
Yeah,
We don't
better
know.
happened.
You
John
might have sent him
Cusack.
some flowers or something. We don't know.
Who
I'm
knows?
just
We-
kidding.
we-
Dude, I love John Cusack. I'm totally.
I know it's
fucking with him. But
that's what it was like.
but I
That's
am
it.
looking
We're-
at like
we're
this
gonna-
list of movies, and I'm like, damn, dude, this guy really needs. I need to see some of these. I haven't seen.
There's a lot, yeah.
I haven't seen a lot of these.
We're gonna have Cusack Fest, and it's all gonna be 2014 through 2023 movies.
Just the last 20 years. Got it.
Carry the 3.
Well, we're not ones to like really put down actors and their jobs and stuff. So like unfairly made fun of Casper. I personally made fun of Casper Van Dien just slightly on our Starship Troopers episode. No reason for that. Uncalled for. But you're like treating him like he's Casper Van Dien. So
David, we've been doing this show so long now that we've changed as people, and we can look back at our early episodes and comment about it.
My initial point was that the best thing he's done in like the last 20 years is Hot Tub Time Machine, which I still stand by.
That's fair. Fine. Yeah, I could see if that's your...
And it's because it was like nostalgic throwback kind of. So I got excited about the whole idea of One Crazy Fall.
What was the one?
One epic fall. Yeah,
What
well,
was the one
let's see if it happens.
I mean, it's not, but it would be awesome if it did.
Yeah.
Good times. Good,
All right. So
good show. Good movie.
One Crazy Summer. I'm glad we did it. We're gonna. We have to keep the momentum going though with our sizzling summer of sensational cinematic shenanigans, because we've got another. David, if you had a hard time with Megaforce, you're gonna love our next episode.
Don't even tell me.
Can we group watch that? Do we? I don't want to watch it by myself.
I think, David, we're going to watch it. Let's put it on the schedule for Thursday night. So it's the Andy Sedaris classic, his greatest film of all his entire collection, Hard Ticket to Hawaii. And we are going to have a special guest for that episode as well. I'll leave it a surprise, but an old friend's coming back. So it's going to be a good time. And I'm excited about it, but that's going to keep going all summer long. So we're having one crazy summer here at ReconCinemation. Check us out on social media. We're at ReconCinemation Podcast on Twitter and Instagram. You can check out our archives at ReconCinemation.com. Thank you to our dear friend E.K. Wimmer for the theme music and Curtis Moore for the poster. Any other final thoughts before we go?
I love you, John Cusack. Please don't have your feelings hurt.
Forgive Brent. He knows not what he does.
I bet all the movies you've made in the last 20 years are great. I'm just saying I haven't seen them. And anything you do with anything you do with Nick Cage is obviously gold.
Yeah, we all know that. All right. Well, on that, we will see you all next time on ReconCinemation.
Take care.
Bye now.
One crazy podcast.
that went way off the rails.
I did not expect that.